Yo, welcome to Trippy Commentaries. We're breaking out our initial fantasy football 15 coverage. We'll bring out our quarterback rankings first. I'm RJ. Mikey, you ready for the fantasy season yet?
Definitely ready for the fantasy football season this year, and I can't wait, man.
Oh, you're telling me all of the other sports are done? No more NHL, no more NBA. It's the middle of the baseball season, not too exciting. So let's talk some football.
That's right.
Starting off with the passers. Our number one quarterback heading into the season is Andrew Luck. He has a ton of weapons. You have T.Y. Hilton, Andre Johnson joining the squad. I think Frank Gore is going to do a great job as their lead running back. And both of their tight ends come in healthy. Coby Fleener, you saw him last year, Mike. Huge weapon for Andrew Luck. I think he's by far and away the number one guy. That's saying a lot.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot of weapons that he has to work with. He has Dante Moncrief as well, a great wide receiver, very young and fast, and he can get down the field quick. And we all know Luck is great at throwing those bombs.
Absolutely. He comes in easily at number one. Number two, Aaron Rodgers. Another quarterback with a ton of weapons. Eddie Lacy was being used a lot out of the backfield as a pass catcher last year. Jordy Nelson went off, and they bring Randall Cobb back. Got to be number two.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is definitely number two. Eddie Lacy was great to balance out that offense quite well. And like you said, plenty of weapons. No reason he isn't number two.
I am very high on Cam Newton this year. He comes in at number 3 for me. Of course, he'll have Kelvin Benjamin coming into his second season. Devin Funchess is an impressive rookie. We all know the chemistry Cam Newton has with his tight end Greg Olsen, and Jonathan Stewart certainly took a step up last season.
That's right. I could see Cam Newton this year getting a lot of fantasy points like he's done in the past. I remember having him his rookie year, and he was an absolute beast. So I look forward to him running the ball quite a bit this year and getting quite a few rushing touchdowns, which will give him a lot of fantasy points.
And that could be the X factor. We like the running quarterbacks. That'll continue on this list. Speaking of mobile quarterbacks, Russell Wilson comes in at number 4. Now I'm interested to hear your take on this one, Mikey. He just acquired Jimmy Graham, and that's why I'm going to put him one spot over Drew Brees. I think Jimmy Graham is the difference. Of course, Marshawn Lynch is not bad out of the backfield. He is going to snipe some running touchdowns from Russell Wilson, and I'm also worried about his two main receivers, Doug Baldwin and Jermaine Kearse, although decent, not the stud caliber that we've seen for some of these other quarterbacks.
Yeah, definitely not. I think Russell Wilson's going to have a great year. Honestly, I think he's got a lot of weapons, and the new addition of Jimmy Graham is going to give him a lot of passing touchdowns, in addition to his normal amount of rushing touchdowns that he usually gets every year.
Yeah.
So I look forward to Russell Wilson having a great year, and he's in a great spot at number 4.
Yeah, and he is in a contract year. We'll see if maybe that gives him some extra motivation in 2015. The aforementioned Drew Brees comes in at number 5. I feel like the loss of Jimmy Graham is really going to hurt him, and Marcus Colston is another year older. Hopefully Brandon Cooks could come in and be a huge weapon, that number 1 wide receiver, for him to be the elite quarterback we're used to.
Yeah, we definitely have to see Brandon Cooks have a great year once again to have Drew Brees do well. And one thing I think you didn't touch on was the addition of C.J. Spiller in New Orleans. Now, I think that's going to open up the field for Drew Brees, and I think he could have an increase in passing touchdowns just from one player.
Yeah, and that's why I'm worried about Mark Ingram's productivity this year. We'll get to that in our running backs preview, but C.J. Spiller, he's definitely going to have a Darren Sproles-esque role. Maybe he'll be even better. We'll check it out as the season progresses. Coming in at number 6 is Matt Ryan. He has Julio Jones, so as long as Jones can stay healthy, he's going to be very productive. Roddy White is another year older. I do like the fact that he really doesn't have any stud running backs. They'll use Devontae Freeman a lot out of the backfield as a pass catcher, which means Matt Ryan should do very well as long as everybody stays healthy. Number 7 quarterback is Peyton Manning. I am really dropping him in my rankings this year. I just think they're going to lean heavily on CJ Anderson and Monty Ball under new coach Gary Kubiak. They still have Demaryius Thomas to play that Andre Johnson role. I think he'll do very well. Emmanuel Sanders should do fine, but no more Julius Thomas. I just don't trust him as much as I've had in the past.
Yeah, I think this year we could see a regression in the total amount of touchdowns that Peyton Manning gets with the elimination of Julius Thomas. But I think we'll still see plenty with Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas. So, look forward to Manning still being a high-tier quarterback, but not being as good as he used to be.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen some huge years from him in the recent past. I think those years are over. I'm pretty high on Ben Roethlisberger this year. Of course, he has Antonio Brown, possibly the best wide receiver in the league. I think Martavis Bryant's going to take a step up, and we all know Le'Veon Bell is a super weapon once he gets back from suspension. If everything goes well, Ben Roethlisberger could be a secret stud.
Yeah, that's right. He very well could be. I've heard reports that he's walking into camp looking like he's lost weight, which is very good. I mean, if that's the case, he could be quicker, throwing that ball quicker, and these weapons he's got, Brown and Martavis Bryant, he could be beastly. So look for him to be better than the past couple of years.
Yeah, and he could be a very good value heading into the draft. Tom Brady's certainly an interesting quarterback this year. He comes in at number 9. You do have to wait until after the suspension to use him, and I wanted to drop him down a little bit, but you look at his weapons, Rob Gronkowski, Brandon LaFell was very good last year, and of course Julian Edelman as well. Once he gets back, he could be your starting quarterback that takes you to the promised land.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to miss him for the first couple games with his suspension, but it seems like he's always one of those guys that no matter what, he's throwing for 300 yards and a couple touchdowns, and he's going to be solid once he comes back.
Yeah, I think he's going to take a step back, especially from last year where he really turned it on. But once again, those weapons are hard to ignore. Matthew Stafford is at number 10. As usual, he'll have one of the top wide receiving weapons in Megatron, and Golden Tate blew up last season. That gives him 2 upper echelon wide receiver threats. I'm not too sure what's going on at running back. Hopefully Joyke Bell can win that job to give him another receiving threat. Unfortunately, Matthew Stafford's been throwing way too many picks. I don't see him returning to that elite status we saw from him a few seasons back.
Well, like you said, the main things going for Matthew Stafford are his 2 wide receivers. Those are his biggest weapons. And hopefully they can figure out what's going on with the running back, and hopefully they hit a gym with Abdullah. So we'll see what happens. Matthew Stafford has dropped in the ranks, though.
Yeah, but still makes our top 10. Might be a cheap pick to start, at least until maybe Tom Brady gets back, and you can see which one's the hotter guy moving forward. Tony Romo, the Dallas Cowboy quarterback. I really don't trust him as much without DeMarco Murray, but Dez Bryant is a complete beast. Jason Witten continues to catch touchdowns, so you should see him be relevant and possibly even better than we think.
Yeah, Tony Romo's going to be one of those guys that is very spotty. He's going to have a great week one week, and then the next week he's going to throw 3 to 4 interceptions. So look forward to having a up and down player if you own Tony Romo.
He could also be a sneaky player. I look for him to possibly be injured at some point. He's getting older. We'll see what happens. I know a lot of people really like him. Phillip Rivers really surprised me last season. He had a bounce back year. I attribute that a lot to the success of Antonio Gates. I think those guys are going to have a step back, but he still has some major weapons. Maybe Keenan Allen blows up. What do you think? This could be a major value.
Yeah, definitely could be a major value here. I see Keenan Allen possibly having a better year than last year. it sort of seemed as if he dropped off a little bit.
Yeah, he did.
So I could see the receivers doing better this year, which could make up for Ryan Matthews leaving, and we do have a new running back in Melvin Gordon. So that should be interesting to see how the new running back plays in with the wide receivers. Does that open up the passing game more? It possibly could. So we'll see.
Definitely a chance of that happening. Man, I think Antonio Gates will fall off, but does that mean Darius Green finally lives up to the hype? Once again, could be a major value here in Phillip Rivers. I don't think it's going to happen, but he'll be available for you guys if you want to take the chance.
Definitely a good pick as a number 2 quarterback late in those late rounds. Get him.
Safety valve. Special shout out to Eli Manning. He could be a big-time sleeper, matching up with Odell Beckham Jr. once again. We saw the touchdowns they were capable of last year. I look for that to repeat in 2015. He also has 2 really good pass-catching running backs in Shane Vereen and Rashad Jennings. Try to take a flyer on him if you can. You also have the rookie quarterbacks. Marcus Mariota is known for his mobility. He'll be hooking up with Bishop Sankey for some interesting plays. Look at Jameis Winston's weapons. He'll have Mike Evans and Vincent Jackson. They're now running the Dirk Cutter offense from Atlanta last year. Mike Evans was trained by Randy Moss this offseason. He'll now be in the Julio Jones role. You'll have Vincent Jackson playing as Roddy White. And their big tight end, Austin Seferian-Jenkins, if they can get him going like big Tony Gonzalez, that could be lightning in a bottle. Thank you guys so much for joining us for our fantasy quarterback preview heading into the 2015 season. It's still early, so we'll bring you plenty of updates. We'll have our running back rankings coming up next. I'm RJ for Mike. Stay tuned to our fantasy coverage, but more importantly, stay trippy, guys.